Hi. I wanted to share a little bit of what I call my origin story, or what some folks might call their why. I have always loved bodies. Bodies are my jam. From the time I was a very small child, I was so curious about bodies and how bodies worked. And was lucky enough to be born into a family that had a lot of experience with bodies. My grandparents, my maternal grandparents, met at the University of Washington. They were both in medical school. My grandmother was one of the first women to graduate from the University of Washington Medical School. My grandfather went on to be a psychotherapist, and my grandmother never really got to practice medicine the way that she had intended because she developed rheumatoid arthritis, which back in the early 50s there weren't treatments for. So when she divorced my grandfather, she took her money, and my mother used some of her high school graduation money that was supposed to be college money, and they bought property on San Juan Island together. So I was raised near to my grandmother. She had running water and electricity at her house. We didn't, in the little cabin that my father built. So I spent quite a bit of time with her, and she really supported and encouraged my love of bodies and science. When she started to develop the EMT training program in San Juan County, I got to help. I was this little person, maybe like 8 to 10, and I would travel around the islands with her and help her, grade papers and hand papers out, and clean the resuscitation Annie dolls, and I just loved it. So I grew up thinking that I was going to be a doctor. So I was going to be a doctor, and I took Latin in high school. I took sciences. I was going to do it. And then my junior year of high school, a pediatrician came and spoke and said something that changed the course of my life. She said something to the effect of, if you want to work one-on-one with people, you might not want to be a doctor, because mostly what doctors do is diagnose and prescribe. And that threw me off of a cliff, because I wanted to work with people. People are my jam. People in their bodies and helping people in their bodies is my jam. And I didn't want to be an authority on anybody else's experience. I didn't want to diagnose and prescribe primarily. I wanted to be with people, and I didn't know what my options were. So when I went to college, I had no idea what I was going to do. In the first year and a half of school, I changed my major who knows how many times. But then, yay, I met my future partner, husband, father of my children, and we had children pretty quickly. And thank goodness, because I'd always wanted to have kids, and it was those pregnancies and births that led me to birth work. And I knew, because of my experiences, that people needed to know that there were different ways of doing things, and people needed support on this amazing transformative journey, potentially traumatizing, but has the power of transformation that could be very, very positive, that I needed to help with that. So I went on this amazing journey of what I call gathering birth wisdom. I became a birth doula, lactation educator, childbirth educator. And then when my kids were in school full time, I went back to school to get prerequisites and decided to go the nurse midwifery journey. So the whole time my kids were in school, I was in school in one form or another. And I went all the way on to getting a doctorate in nursing, because I love learning so much. But also along the way, I've maintained my connection with the natural world and the spiritual world as much as I could, because I was raised on wild land, and because the people in my life were so traumatized and hurting and having so much difficulty being people and in their bodies, I really describe
nature as my best parent. So I spent a lot of time outside as a young child, and I continue to spend as much time outside as I can, because we are nature. We're not separate from it. And it was that connection with the natural world that I really believe helped me to be the person that I am, and to helped me to hold on to and continue and develop my resilience. That's how I got where I am in a very short nutshell. And there, I'm sure I will share a lot more about, my childhood, my trauma, my healings, how I got to where I am along the way. But that's just a little bit of, why I do the work I do and how I got to where I am.